Dude, man, I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
You got cleaning products too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the product to your front door. See you guys.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. Another Charlotte FC game, another L. Boys, what is going on with this team? Before we get into it, I want to at least say hi to you guys because a lot of us are coming in here with a lot of opinions. A lot has been going on recently. The socials have been extra toxic the last couple of days. I don't know if it's my meds that's going to be talking because I had surgery or what, but tonight is definitely going to be a good show. Brian, how are you today?
I'm hanging in there. I mean, it was a rough watch this weekend. It's been a rough watch, a decent amount this season. But I mean, if there's a reason to play MLS fantasy, I picked a good year to start. It gives me a nice distraction to suck at something else that I can blame my bad weeks for than the Charlotte FC results.
Nice. Lima, man, you look so excited, bro. How are you?
Oh, man. Great to be. Let's talk about Attendance FC, Sorry Crossing Soccer Club.
Cross and Pray FC. That was
Cross and Pray.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'm only doing this because you asked me to be on, man. Not because I want to talk about Charlotte FC. I'm doing it for you, Top Ben.
I appreciate that, man.
Got you.
I appreciate Danielle. I'm feeling better. Today's probably it's been a rough day, but you know what? Complaining about Charlotte might help a little bit. So we'll definitely see. Right. So the first thing I want to get into, right, is we had the same lineup this week, right? I mean, Bronico at left back, Shinyashiki at the 10, Swiderski at right wing. I mean, first of all, I gave Lattanzio the benefit of the doubt the week prior because you know what? A lot of it was more individual mistakes than a collective, right? Against St. Louis, right? It was a Swiderski handball. It was an own goal. It was the Malanda pass to Klaus. But this week, same lineup, and we looked terrible, right? I mean, Bronico was at fault for 2 goals, right? Along with a orchestra of players, and we'll get into it. Shinyashiki was non-existent at the 10. No. Swiderski, why he played 1 game at the 10, and then we throw him now at the right wing where he's not effective at all. What is going on, right? Like, I mean, if you're not going to use him at the 10, then why didn't we get somebody else to come and play that position, right? Anyways, Lee, I'm going to start off with you, man, and I want to hear from everybody in the comments section again. Talk to me about this lineup.
I mean, to be fair, it sort of almost worked against St. Louis, right? And so was Lattanzio's thought, well, maybe this is going to work for us next week. We just got unlucky this week. Obviously, Enzo got a goal from a Carroll cross when Carroll was out in the wing. So, hey, kind of looks like a genius there. This week, man, I mean, that first half, I don't know where the hell the team was. They obviously they were still. Brian, go ahead. Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand his process in keeping the lineup, and he mentioned that in the presser, he's looking to try to build some continuity because especially along the back line, that back seven, like really from the goalkeeper through the defensive midfield, all those guys haven't played a whole lot of time together as a unit. And so I totally understand the process of trying to get some continuity. I totally get that.
But
I
I
do
disagree.
agree,
Yeah.
but
Huh?
if you look at it, right, the first sub came in at minute 65.
Yeah, but then it's
And
too
it
late.
wasn't even Nuno Santos, right?
Yeah.
Nuno came in at minute 81,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, if you're down 3-0 by the first half, like,
Yeah.
there has to be some changes.
At
There's no way
halftime.
Atlanta United made a change before we did. That to me was shocking. I mean, nothing changed, right? I will give them, there was a period about 5 or 6 minutes after going 2-0 down.
Yep.
The team slightly started to look a little bit better, but it wasn't enough. It's the
No.
same story. We have moments in games, right,
Yeah.
where we play well, but it's not consistent, right? So
Yeah.
this loss goes on the players, and it also goes on Latanzio, right?
Yep.
I think he added some unnecessary pressure to his job by this lineup selection, and by it not working and by it being so poor.
And you're 3-0 down at halftime. You throw out the tactics that you have planned, and you just change it up completely. I mean, they could have done anything. We could have had Nunes on there, Vargas on there at halftime. Give them 45 minutes. Hell, worst case scenario, we lose 3-2, right? We could see how they play together. Give them some playing time out there. Let's see what they can do. Like, hell, change it up, man. I mean, hell, Latanzio, what are you doing, man? I'm trying to defend you out here, Latanzio.
Yeah.
Right. Brian brings up a good point. You know, honestly, I don't think Yazviak was the worst player, but also if you have a DP sticker on your name, you're supposed to make a difference. And he's not making the difference of a DP player. So that's where I've seen a lot of debate on Twitter. Well, you know, Yazviak has been our kind of least worst player, or he hasn't played that bad. And I agree, but that's not what I expect from a DP, right? You know, we saw stints of Soderski last season where he showed why he's a DP. I think Enzo, it's way too early to judge, right? But with that first goal that he already bagged for us, you can start seeing some signs that he can be a difference maker. With Yazviak, I can't think of a game where I was like, thank God we had Yazviak, and he pulled us through, right?
Yeah, it's been an ongoing, I think, discussion in terms of maybe I guess maybe they just don't have that guy to replace him in mind, or I mean they're just really like looking to see if he can't turn the tide through until the summer. But I mean, I would say if there's one player, and like it just keeps getting brought up, like whether it's like Matt Doyle, you know, bringing up the quote from Zoran about like how he could play for Holland, ever play against Holland, he can play against RSL, like that. Like I mean, if there's one signing so far that's really like left egg on Zoran's face, it would be the Yazviak signing for sure. Just in terms of like how much it keeps getting brought up, and I think it's just that monkey is going to continue to be really, really heavy until he finds a goal or they move on from him. Just because, I mean that's I feel like it's brought up every game now, where it's like 0 goals in 90 games or whatever. Like they just keep like adding that tally, and it's going to happen until he breaks through. And like it's not about like, well, he's playing consistently on the wing, because there's the things that he does well. Like I do think he like actually plays really like strong, especially in the air for a guy who's like his stature and size. But he does little things like that. Well, he actually had a really nice through ball into the box for Westwood, and then it kind of just broke down once it was trying to combine with him and Shinichiki. But like again, it's the final product just has to be there at this point, because that's what's missing, and that's what people are going to continue to zone in on until it changes. And that's just bottom line what it comes down to. It's the same as like what the issue we had with Carroll last year when he had like those first 2 braces. And then he didn't score for like 12 games. Everybody started to catch on like, hey, this is an issue. And like that's where like the
he
difference
scored though at some point. I mean, I'm just glad we didn't get Yazviak when we originally wanted. The money we would have paid then, we got a deal on him.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yazviak seems more like a last minute, all right, let's buy him because the Machis deal kind of fell through, right?
Yeah, that's
true. You know what? He hasn't been performing to that. And I mean, like, I go back to with like Swiderski is really hard for me to like judge him to the degree that we want to judge him, because he's not playing in the position he needs to be playing at.
No.
Like he's not. Go ahead.
And he actually, like, for me, like I'm starting to see glimpses of what he was doing last year. I mean, it wasn't enough, right? I mean, they went down 3-0, they didn't score. But like you could see, I mean, he megged Gutman with a really nice back heel flick to like dribble past him. His dribbling is starting to catch on. His touches are getting cleaner. For me, Swiderski, like it seems like it's coming back together. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say it was enough, and it's definitely not until the goals start coming in and he can actually start helping us get results. But I felt like I saw his progression starting to happen and him starting to get back into the flow, which is going to be key. I mean, this team's attack is going to go where Swiderski goes. I feel like that at this point, like that's the key at the end of the day.
It will, but if we're not playing him, like you mentioned, like in a position where he can be most effective, like.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Like at halftime, it wasn't working. Just bring Carroll inside and put Vargas on the outside or something, right? Just switch it up. We got 45 minutes to see how it works for the next game. We've lost it already.
Or throw in Nuno Santos, who
Nuno,
10 minutes. Right, if you're gonna insist with Swiderski on that wing, play Nuno Santos at the 10 and see what he can do for us. But then again, I kind of go back, like I don't like that because all preseason, where did we see Swiderski? Right, all the ending to last year, everything that they talked about going into this season was with the assumption that Swiderski would be at the 10, that we would have Enzo Copetti as our 9, right? And now I'm like, okay, like after one game, he hasn't been back at the 10 role. That to me,
Latanzio is always talking about training or whatever. I mean, what is Vargas and Nunes doing in there? Are they playing Candy Crush all game, practice or what, man? Because I mean, surely they deserve a shout. I mean, they've shown it to me on the pitch that they deserve at least a 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I think Brian, you asked him about that, right? And he addressed it.
Yeah, about Nuno, Nuno specifically. Yeah, I asked him if it was tactical or what was really going on there, and he pretty much just mentioned that. I mean, he said it wasn't tactical. He said Nuno's doing everything he can. I think what he was brought up specifically was Andre Shinyashiki and how he was training and performing back into preseason, and I guess that he just deemed that worthy continuing into the season. I can't imagine that's going to continue much longer because, I mean, the amount of times I feel like I've seen Shinyashiki manning the ball in the position like as he was set up to be in that 10 role, like having to make the decision on where does that that next progressive pass go. I just feel like he was constantly a little off the pace in just terms of, because like that again, I don't feel like that's his strength. Is like a creative passer who's supposed to make that really cutting edge, dangerous ball in to get the shot off for somebody. And I don't feel like it's setting him up for success. And whether that's like because Latanzio likes the way he's training and trying to find a way to get him on the pitch or what, but like that for me isn't a good enough answer anymore, because we've seen it for 3 games where, at least in the last 2, where Andre's been the starter at the 10, and there's been multiple times where it's like, man, if there was like Swiderski on the ball in that situation, or Nuno, or just somebody else who's like known for making the cutting edge, the dangerous ball, you're just like, man, that's a difference. That's the difference, right?
I don't know if Latanzio rates Nuno. I don't think Latanzio rates Nuno. No, I mean, because when did he come in? Like Cincinnati last year, right? I think it was the game we really kind of saw him play.
Yeah.
And it's like, he really hasn't had a chance, I don't think, to prove on the pitch at least.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right? I mean, what's that, 6-7 games now? He's had a chance to put him in and he hasn't. He's always been that 10, 15-minute player.
Yeah, and he also mentioned something about like he gave away a dangerous ball in that 10 minutes, but like,
oh my God, you see what that defense?
But like Bronico gave up. Yeah, I was like, Bronico gave up 2 turnovers that led to goals. Like, what's a dangerous ball? So it's
come on, Latanzio, man.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard.
Here's a couple good comments. Our whole team looks tired. I think they look uncomfortable from the back to the front. Like, especially this game, everyone, in my opinion, looked kind of uncomfortable. And it's players playing out of position, players like Swiderski being on the right wing instead of the 10, Bronico being at the left back, right?
Do we know what we're doing?
Huh?
Do we know what we're doing?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we do. No. And I like Juan's comment makes sense as well. I mean, more of that first game was probably one of our best players against New England Revolution.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? Brandt's better off at the CDM, right? I think everything, I got to agree, Burn has also let me down this season.
Yeah.
He did more so Saturday, I think. But again, I wouldn't put put it on him for sure.
There was like at least four mistakes on like almost every single goal they scored. I do want to also mention that I think it also has something to do with the transition moments. Specifically, Atlanta, every time they moved quickly up the field or like got a turnover and had a transition moment, I feel like those were the instances when Charlotte really struggled to just stay compact and handle the situation. And those moments are fast. And I think that also has to go back to just the lack of trust and cohesion some of them have with each other. I don't think Tuiloma and Malanda really trust where each other are going to be at times. And I think also maybe Cisniega is, he's at fault for almost none of the goals, but I think he's maybe having a bit of trouble just like controlling, like operating where he wants people to be at times in terms of being the eyes from the back and being the vocal leader back there. Cause there's just been a lot of times where I feel like they like him and Malanda have almost collided a decent amount. And like a lot of times when they just shot the ball into the ball was just bouncing around and nobody really took claim of it. And I feel like that's where like the goalkeeper really needs to be like, this is my ball. Like this is my box. This is my ball. And like, so like, I'd like to see a little bit more ownership there as well. But again, it's like everywhere. I could point out a flaw that happened, especially in this game, like at every position. Like, I mean, the third goal, it's like a pass from Miles Robinson to Almada, and then they're just in on goal. It takes like 2 passes to go from the defensive line through our midfield into the attacking third. And so that means like Jones and Westwood did nothing to stop those like long passes through. Like, and so like, I mean, there was just flaws everywhere. And like, especially in those moments where they broke quickly, made quick passes and decisions and just attacked us like directly, they just had no stopping.
I just don't understand then if preseason is supposed to be for us to be lined up on how we want to come out and play, right? I mean, if we don't have any key injuries, which I don't think we do from preseason, like why the sudden? I mean, the change in formation is drastic. It's not like we just changed up like the left back, for instance. We like pretty much just changed up the whole formation, and I just don't understand then why even try what we tried in preseason. What was the point of preseason?
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, I think I agree with you. Everything you said.
I say we lost against New England, but we wasn't terrible.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Lattanzio calling out Enzo Copetti? And I want to hear from everybody as well.
About him diving and all that?
Yeah, honestly, to be honest, I agree with him. I just don't know if publicly saying that helps his cause or hurts his cause.
I mean, that definitely should have been something he should have said in the locker room before he said anything to the press. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's just that style of play that he's used to playing in. Like, I will say, being from Europe, right? You know, I'd say like South America tends to flop, try to get that ref, kind of do all that stuff, right? Those mental games, right? And you know, with Lattanzio being Italian, right? I feel like it kind of goes against that flow. But I mean, that's his game. I'm not a fan of it by any means. I just don't think he should have called him out. He did.
Yeah, that's kind of how, and Tyler's mentioning in the chat right now, but I mean, Enzo plays very emotional. That's just how he is. And at least that's everything I've seen him do is like, he's just like, he kind of just winds himself up. And I think there's the downside to that at times is like, you're going to have a really wound up player who like reacts emotionally at times. And sometimes it's going to benefit the team and sometimes it can hurt the team. I think Carroll kind of fits that bill at times as well, where he just kind of gets really wound up when he's out there competing and he kind of can lose it a little bit. So, but there was also in the same presser, Lattanzio also did call out a decent amount of the other players in terms of like, I mean, he was trying to take responsibility for himself, but he also tried to acknowledge that like the players need to regain that belief in themselves. And that was team wide as much as it was just for Enzo. I think he needed to, I think he mentioned Enzo specifically also because he's the DP now, right? I mean, so deep like Enzo
regardless
and Carroll
if he's a DP or if he's a bender that's straight out of college, that kind of conversation needs to stay in the locker room and not in the press. Right? I mean, I could see it if we're like, 10, 15 weeks in and he's still doing it, right? At that point, like call his bluff. But, 3 games in, I think he should have just pulled him aside in the locker room and had his conversation there.
Yeah, I think the only one other reason why, I mean, because an aspect of it is public because he he picked up a yellow for like chucking the ball, like he like slammed it and like Gronk spiked it. So like, I mean,
Yeah.
an aspect of what Capetti does is public, so you could say it behind closed doors, but like people are still gonna people are gonna see that recap. I mean, I did.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as a coach, you defend your
Yeah, and that's what Lattanzio is known for too. Lattanzio is usually known for doing that. I feel like
just seemed like a cheap way out of whatever was.
that. Yeah,
I agree. All right, let's go quickly on your guys' good, the bad, and the redeemable from this Charlotte FC match against Austin against Atlanta. Someone mentioned Austin. And I want to hear from everybody in the comment section. All right, Lee, start with me. The good, the bad, and the redeemable of this.
The good does it. The game kicked off around noon, and we got out of there early. The bad is the game kicked off at noon, and we got out of there early. And the redeemable is that the next game starts at 7:30, so we should be all right. There's nothing to say. There's nothing good to say about that.
yeah. It's hard to find one for sure.
But you can start looking around. People were talking about the attendance. You can start looking around, especially that club level section, man. It's looking pretty empty.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get results to keep the people. The good.
I agree with that.
The only thing I saw was at times Charlotte's transition moments looked somewhat dangerous. They didn't get the finish. Like Carroll had a really good look, and then Gutman put in a foot last second, and they did have a couple moments like that. But I mean, it's just got to be more of them and more decisiveness and more of that. And the result has to be there to make it like a legitimate good, I would say. The bad was just, the amount of, it was like 4 mistakes per goal. And like just the quantity. There's so many opportunities to stop all 3 of those goals, and just the domino effect of all of those, each line breaking down, like, and allowing those events to happen is just, it's just a whole lack of cohesion in the whole team. And I think there's a massive, and that's why a lot of league wide, the red flags are up and people are already putting us in wooden spoon categories,
Yeah.
At least we'll win something this year.
To me, it's a little too early for all of that.
No, I think so as well. But if you're on the outside looking in and you haven't watched a whole lot of Charlotte, and you see that first goal where there's they look like a college defense when you have 4 defenders on one side of the field and 1 trailing the runner on the other side. That's like Division 1. Like that's like really, really bad structural, like positional spacing and stuff. So like when people are seeing that, it's I imagine it's hard to watch. And so and then redeemable, I'm gonna stick with my guns and stick with Malanda. He's had a really rough couple of games.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we're remembering. I'm trying to remember now that he's 21.
Is this whole season?
What?
A couple in regards to how long we were into this is the whole season.
Well, but the thing is, he had a good game against the Revs. He might have been man of the match against the Revs. So it's like, I feel like it's a couple games. It's the majority of the season for sure.
I think when somebody asked him if he's going to Europe or going to stick around, went straight to his head, and ever since he hasn't been the same.
That was our bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I had to throw that out there.
But it was reverse psychology. The whole thing was like, get him wound up, remind him that he's 21, so he makes a couple mistakes. Then everybody like lays off. Now we get him till 2024. That's the whole game. It's the long game.
Do you give Giannis start over him? Maybe he needs to be benched just to kind of.
No.
And I'll go quickly over mine. I think the good is that we're only 3 games in, right? Like it's not like we're not in the Premier League where like you need every point to win or like they don't have playoffs, right? I think the bad was just everything. The lineup, how Charlotte played, how everybody looked uncomfortable. Even the TV went out in the stadium for the whole second half.
Yeah, thank God I didn't want to watch it either.
So that was terrible, right? I think the redeemable is that, seeing guys like Kerwin Vargas come in again and kind of show that, at least there's players on the bench that are wanting to make a difference.
They have to start.
I don't think we're as bad as people are now making us seem.
Yeah.
But that performance in a match that was nationally televised, this is what people's perception of Charlotte is, right? Based off of this game, third game in a row with a loss. So I can see why people think we're in a bad position, and we are to a degree, but I don't think it's that bad.
We're
Right?
gonna go on a 31 winning streak. 31 wins.
Nice. All right. And with that, I want to bring on our very special guest for tonight. He played 9 seasons in MLS, 43 career MLS goals, 2014 MLS Rookie of the Year, drafted 3rd overall by FC Dallas, earned 19 caps for Canada. Today, we would like to bring on Tesho Akindele. Tesho, how are you today?
What's up, Jorge? I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining our live tonight.
For sure. Yeah, that's cool that you guys are doing this. Thanks for inviting me.
For sure, for sure. Obviously, we're not coming off of a very high. As you know, Charlotte with 3 losses now. Did you get a chance to catch the game?
Yeah, for sure. I heard you guys speaking a minute ago, like it was prime time. So I think a lot of people caught the game. My kids were napping, so I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to sit down and watch the Charlotte game. And because now I'm slowly becoming a Charlotte FC fan now that I live in the city. And yeah, it was a tough game. It was a tough game.
Okay, nice. We're glad to hear that. I know we saw last year, even like people started making rumors. Okay, could he be coming to Charlotte to play for Charlotte FC? What brought you here?
My wife's job, I guess, brought us here. She was a big time accountant, so she has a good job of her own. And of course, there's lots of good kind of financial accounting jobs here in Charlotte. So her job kind of brought us here, and then yeah, it's a great city. So thought it'd be a good place for us to set down our roots. Like I said, we got 2 kids, so I think we'll be here for a long time.
Okay, nice. Have you gotten a chance to go to a Charlotte game just yet, or no?
Not in person, I haven't. I think next weekend, or not next weekend, but the weekend after that, like the 25th or something. I think I'm going to go to that game, and then I think Crown FC they start I think Saturday, Sunday. So I'm going to try to actually get out to one of each of those games.
But I'm kind of jealous that your kids were napping, because during that game, I would have loved to have been napping too.
Usually I nap when my kids nap on the weekends too, but this time I stayed up, and so I should
Put yourself short, bro.
Yeah.
Put yourself short.
Yeah.
Nice. Tisha, what are you noticing of the soccer culture so far in Charlotte? I mean, you've briefly been here, but what are you seeing?
I mean, last year I played here in this stadium, and the environment was amazing. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of NFL stadiums, because sometimes the noise just kind of goes out. But Charlotte did a really good job. Like Seattle's another one that can make a good environment happen in a football stadium. Charlotte, I thought, did a great job when I was there in person last year. And then just watching it on TV, the environment, you can see it every time. And the numbers speak for themselves. I think they're the second in the league for attendance. So that's, first of all, in terms of soccer culture, you got a brand new team second in attendance. That's really good. And then, so I work at Camp North End, and the supporters group goes and practices in Camp North End every Wednesday. They're practicing the chants. They're doing the tifos out there. So kind of like right in my backyard, all the supporters are out there. So that's
nice.
Pretty cool
so
too.
I guess next time you go to the stadium, you're gonna know all the chants by then, huh?
Probably, yeah. You'll catch me blending in the supporter section.
Nice. Awesome. Talk to us a little bit about this Orlando team. I mean, last year you were part of that US Open Cup winning team, finished 7th, were eliminated by Montreal. You're starting off good this season. 1 win, 2 draws, right? You play Tigres, I think, tomorrow night, right? So What are you noticing about some of the changes in this Orlando squad?
There was a lot of changes for sure. A lot of the guys, myself included, who were there last year, moved on. I think I was the only one who retired, but there was a lot of turnover of the team. But that's just part of it, like in soccer, kind of things go in waves. I think it was just a natural point for a lot of people to move on. And I thought Orlando did a really good job of bringing in some good players, like Ojeda, for example, top talent. So, and there's a couple other guys too that fill in the squad in really good ways. So I thought they did a really good job of bringing in quality players. And then I guess what I've seen from them in the first couple of weeks is the main thing I've seen is squad rotation, like because they have been playing the Champions League game. You know, they played last week, they play again tomorrow. So almost every game they've started with like 3 or 4 new players every single game. I'm sure they're going to start their top team tomorrow against Tigres. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of squad rotation again against Charlotte. But with they have a pretty deep squad though, so like it's not like you're getting the scrubs. But like for example, last weekend they have a rookie, Duncan McGuire, who scored a goal for them, and he's looking pretty good. And you know, I don't know if he's like slated right now to be their starter or not, but if he's not, like that's a pretty good squad rotation player. So I think you'll see a lot of rotation against Charlotte, but it'll still be a good team.
Yeah, I agree. Although that was one of my questions too. I had I mean, does Charlotte kind of have a little bit of an up since they're going to be coming off a very, very tough game? I mean, Tigres is one of the strongest teams in Liga MX, right? But like you said, like the squad depth and Charlotte going into a game, 3 losses in a row, haven't been playing well, right? I'm just curious to see what have you seen from Charlotte so far that maybe make you think they could do something this weekend. And if you haven't seen anything, that's fair as well.
I think you're selling them short saying they haven't played well. I thought the Atlanta game, they didn't play too well, especially in the big moments. But I thought the other games that they looked pretty good. There was like just a few mistakes that kind of tanked them, but I thought they did good. The main thing to do for teams is to not like you can get really bad momentum in the leagues. It can also work in the right way. Like kind of last year at the end of the season, Charlotte was just winning games and they were just like kept going and everybody felt like we're going to win. We're going to make the playoffs. You know, like that momentum can work for you, but it could also work against you. So if I was like in and around that team, that's what they got to break is the momentum. And I actually think playing against Orlando right now is a decent chance because Orlando is going to be coming off of a big like emotional game tomorrow. So like say they win the game, crazy, everyone's happy, going wild. If they lose the game, everyone's really sad. Either way, it's going to be a really emotional experience for Orlando. Then Orlando has to. Where's the game? Is the game
in Orlando?
It's in Orlando.
To travel, but either way, it's going to be a lot of emotions involved in that game for Orlando. So I think it could be a good time for Charlotte to grab one back. Who knows? But that if I was like in and around that team, I would be worried about just momentum because it kind of works with you or it works against you.
Yeah. And Brian, I'll ask you the same question. Do you see this? And I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well. Do you see like Charlotte going in with a slight advantage maybe because of that? Or, you know, given our track record of our away performances and how the team's tracked so far, does it really make a difference?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I definitely think CCL is absolutely a variable. I mean, it's probably Orlando City's maybe their biggest match in club history. I mean, besides what, maybe the U.S. Open Cup final, Tesho, but I mean, I'd say it's got to be
big though.
up
It's
there.
big. Yeah, Champions League is huge, and especially like it's a chance to win not to cut you off, but it is big. It's big.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I mean, it's Tigres, so it's like maybe the favorite of the entire tournament that they have a chance to knock off because of the 0-0 draw. I mean, they could have even maybe got a win down there, you know. And I mean, Jalese is playing just really phenomenally right now, so they got to feel like they've got a chance at home to win that game. And if like Tisha said, I mean, if they win, I mean, I'd imagine there's maybe players on the team that don't even like maybe know who they're playing this weekend because of how important this game is. They might not even. I mean, Charlotte has just got to be so far off of their radar in terms of importance. Like they're probably. I mean, it's all about the Wednesday match, and so I definitely think that plays into Charlotte's hands. Whereas Charlotte's completely focused on Orlando City. This is an important match for Charlotte to break this, this trend, this poor momentum. Whereas Orlando City's in the complete opposite spectrum. They're on a high. They're trying to, accomplish something that I don't think a lot of people expected them to be able to do when they look at the differences in the squads between Tigres and Orlando City. And for them to do that at home and accomplish that feat would just be an incredible thing. And then on top of that, Orlando City, even though, they're in the Champions League right now, their attack isn't clicking yet. They've had like one non-penalty goal. So I would say like Facundo Torres isn't quite clicking yet. I mean, they have a lot of attackers. Like Martin Ojeda hasn't quite started clicking yet. Their new DP signing. So there's also like that factor as well, where I mean they've scored as many non-penalty goals as Charlotte have right now. So they're right. So it's like I mean there's that I think as a factor as well. Charlotte don't play well on the road, but I mean I think it's definitely an opportunity for them to get a point at least. I mean, they should see it as that for sure. I mean, they took advantage of New England last year. That was their first win. Was New England coming off of a rough CCL road match where they blew a 3-0 lead in the first leg and then blew it in the second leg, and so they came in to Charlotte really on a downer. And Charlotte took a big advantage of that and won 3-1. So I definitely think, I mean, Charlotte should be targeting this as an opportunity to break the momentum because of that emotional swing for Orlando City right now.
100%. I agree with you. And then people love asking these questions anytime we have players on Test Show, but what are your feelings on playing on turf?
Yeah, I don't mind it, honestly. It never bothered me. I think people, especially with injuries, mind it, like if you've had bad knees or something, but I don't know. To me, I never minded it, and I would rather play on turf than bad grass. Like there's a lot of good turf these days. So if you ask me like 10 years ago, when I was a kid, the turf was this long and if you touch it, your leg is bleeding all over the place. But now it feels almost like grass, so I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting answer. Was there any game maybe that you played with either Orlando or Dallas or, with the Canadian national team where like the field was just terrible?
Oh yeah, especially with the Canadian national team, because we would go travel. Just I played in every country in Central America. I played in a ton of the Caribbean countries. So there were some wild fields that like we play on cricket fields and stuff like that with a big mound in the middle and the balls bouncing everywhere. Yeah, so I would.
Sure, that wasn't Chicago.
Chicago last year we played at Chicago and their field was not good at all either. So. Yeah. So I'll take a turf field over some grass field. Orlando City, on the other hand, has like an amazing grass field. I think like one of the best in the league, if not the best. So I'll take a grass field tops, but a turf field is not too bad, honestly.
Nice. Awesome. That's a very we've been because Parkhurst came on our show last week, Michael Parkhurst, and talked about like how like playing on turf actually helped them that season winning the MLS Cup when he was captain of the team. It's really interesting to hear you guys' answers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Lee, do you see what kind of changes do you want to see in Charlotte FC this weekend going into Orlando? Obviously, some of Latanzio's experiments haven't been working. Do you go back to Swiderski at the 10? Do you keep him at right wing? What would you do?
Yeah, I'd put him in the 10 like we did in the preseason. I don't see any reason why he needs to be on the wing. If you're not happy with Gaines out there, put Vargas out there, right? I don't think Andre's doing it for us there. Also, wouldn't mind seeing more back at left back if not hurt. Drop Jones and put Bronico back in the CDM.
Nice. Brian, I'll ask you the same question as well, right? What kind of changes would you like to see? I mean, we're definitely 0-3, so like Lattanzio experimenting again will definitely continue that fire under him if it goes wrong, kind of like it did against Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make I don't want to see like a ton of changes. I want to see Nuno. Like Nuno's the big one for me. I would really love to see Nuno Santos get a chance. Like we talked about earlier, it doesn't seem like he's gotten that opportunity. But Lattanzio's also said like he's not doing anything wrong in training to not warrant getting it. He just is also saying there's a lot of competition and other people are winning the spots over him. So but I would really I'm just dying to see him from the start and see what happens there. And I'm willing to see Karol Swiderski on the right wing if Nuno Santos is starting. Like I'm willing to keep Karol out wide if that means Nuno starting, whatever it takes to see Nuno from the jump. I would love that. I mean, that's the main thing. Other than that, I mean, you can have more on left back. I'm fine with Bronico staying there. And I'm sure a lot of people are probably disagree with me there, but I mean, the whole back line was like to put it on Bronico is.
I don't think we're putting down Bronico.
No,
and shift him back in where he normally plays, right?
Yeah, I think I understand that as well. I understand that philosophy too. I don't mind. My preference is like Nuno on the field over everything. That's just my
Would you be
main.
good with him on the wing?
Yep, I'm fine with him anywhere as long as my main thing is as Nuno on. I mean, wherever we get him on, I think he's a spark plug in terms of what he can bring creatively and he can make the dangerous pass, which is really, I feel like that cutting edge dangerous pass in the final third and around the penalty box is what Charlotte have really been lacking, and I just think Nuno can bring
And
that.
shots.
Yeah.
Just don't understand why we don't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
We do not shoot the ball at all.
Tesho, I think you mentioned Ojeda already, but any other players that you see in this Orlando squad that maybe Charlotte FC fans should be aware of going into this game?
I'll do like one that you wouldn't expect, and I'll say their center back, Robin Jansen. I think he's like a really top player in the league, and he's the best passing center back in the entire league to me, and I think it's not even close. Like his distribution completely unlocks so many teams. So I would say like watch out for him. A lot of what Orlando does goes through him because he's so good on the ball. Like he can just hit nice short passes. He can hit one over the top. He can like dink one into the forward. So I would say he's probably like an under the radar kind of guy to watch out for.
Okay, nice. That's good to know. And then
That's a good shout, Tesha.
Thanks.
I was going to say, just because of the last week, Miles Robinson cut us up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a huge issue for Charlotte if he can as well.
Yeah, I forget what goal it was last week. I think it might have been Miles Robinson passed it, and like in one pass, 5 guys were cut out. They turned and they scored like 5 seconds later. That was probably Miles Robinson. But yeah, so a lot of times like people don't think of, attackers contribute or defenders contributing to the goals. But like if you go watch 2 or 3 passes back, that's what unlocks it. Miles Robinson did a good job of it, and Robin Jansen is top of the league in doing that for me.
Nice. And how your thoughts on Orlando? How far do you see this team going this season? Right. I mean, you made playoffs last season. Unfortunately, lost to Montreal. Right. Do you think this team could go deep this year? I mean, right now the strong runners look like LAFC. Seattle look like they're kind of back. I think Philadelphia is going to be Philly this year as well.
Yeah, I think Orlando has the pieces in place, but like a lot of teams do. Then that's kind of like the exciting thing about MLS is like the parity is real. Like if you look across rosters, most rosters are like very well balanced actually. And so really what it comes down to is culture. A lot, like for example, Seattle, obviously last year they didn't have a good season, but they have a winning culture, and it's like apparent because they're in the playoffs, they're in the championships always, like every time. Like that's the culture, that their players are not that much better than the players at other teams, but they have a winning culture. And I know, I worked with Oscar Pareja 8 of my 9 years as a professional. I know he's huge on developing culture. I think if he's able to get the new guys, like the really talented players that they brought in this year, to buy into like their work, because the work ethic over there is crazy in Orlando. Like under Oscar and his fitness coach Fabian, those guys got you working. So if he can get those new guys to buy in on that, I think they have the pieces, they have the depth to go really far. I think Orlando's a really interesting team. I think Lee was saying it earlier, or maybe Brian, that their offense hasn't clicked yet though. Completely true. For how talented they are, they haven't been scoring many goals or even like creating too many chances, but I think it'll come. There's a lot of new pieces for them, and it'll come. Hopefully for you guys, it doesn't come this week. Hopefully it comes against Tigres. They score 5 goals and they're happy, and then they don't score against Charlotte. Right?
Yeah. Hey, hopefully we'll be rooting for them.
I bet both fan bases will take that. Yeah, both fan bases will be happy if they beat Tigres but have to take a loss to Charlotte. That makes everybody happy. So we'll go for that.
I'll sign off on that right now. Yeah. Talking about that locker room culture, did you feel that in that run in the U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah, definitely. That time was really a good culture. Honestly, the best culture that I was ever a part of in soccer was in the bubble when I was with Orlando. We got to the finals of the MLS Cup is back. I guess that was before Charlotte was in the league though. But it was a weird time because we're away from our families. We're stuck in the bubble. It's COVID, a lot going on, but our team was locked in really tight. So that was a great example of a good culture. And last year was another good culture too. And it makes a big difference. Even like, so I was talking to Oscar Pareja, about culture, and he said culture is like, in his mind, he's the coach. He said culture is like 80% of the success of the team. Like the tactics, all this stuff, it comes down to culture, and you see it sometimes. Like you see teams that have great players and they just go out and play horribly game after game. And it's just a culture thing, and you have other teams like, say, Philadelphia, who like their players are they have good players, but they overperform. I think that's because they have a good culture over there. So,
yeah, it's a great point. Hopefully, I think from a fan base perspective here in Charlotte, we're developing a fan base culture, which is great, right? Like now, if we can somehow get it to implement in the team, which like you mentioned, and like I mentioned too, to be fair, like there were moments last year where we saw this team clicking, right? And then like this season, we just had. We weren't thinking we're about to go win the MLS Cup, but we were definitely not seeing 3 losses, players playing out of position. So it's just to us, like it's kind of like a punch in the gut seeing the team be dead last, right? Where we've been following preseason went well, no losses. Then you get a nationally televised game and it's the 3rd loss, right? And so, but like you mentioned it too, momentum also plays an important role, because like you look at St. Louis's momentum, right? Like part of their 2 of the 3 wins was goals that we're giving to them.
They're the perfect example of like their culture is probably amazing right now in their locker room, and they're just riding that high. Like their team. I don't know all those players, but they're overperforming, and I'm sure like they're just feeding off the momentum, feeding off the culture. So that's a great example. One thing that I would say to you guys as fans is, okay, so your team has lost 3 games. You guys are probably upset. There's fans out there that are messaging the players saying, "You suck. We want to put this guy in instead. Coach sucks." Whatever. I think that's like, lift your team up with love. I think like players read that stuff. It gets to their head. Even like maybe Lee was saying, why aren't people shooting? Maybe sometimes people are thinking about like, oh my gosh, last time I shot and they said I suck at shooting. Like, I need to make the better play. So I would encourage you guys, like, lift your team with love, like put that, like, imagine if it was you just lost 3 rough games and you have to go play another game. The whole world's watching, like you're nervous. You want to feel like the people behind you love and support you, And I know it's like of course the fans love sometimes, they give tough love sometimes, but I would like recommend you guys to rally the fan culture to be one of positivity as well, because I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that, but at some point criticism is due, right? I mean, we're not just basing it off of, at least some of these players, we're not basing it off of just what's happened in the past 3 games either. So
yeah, I think like say
no, to go in the DMs of players and tell them that sucked, that's a little too far.
People do that. People will tag you, they'll DM you, they'll like comment on your kids' pictures telling you suck. It's like
that's too far. But I mean, our fan base has a little bit of toxicity in it, regardless, within ourselves. So yeah, but if you guys are really DMing these players telling them that suck, then I just want to say that you suck.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about that. Like, obviously, like, these players see our messages, right? Like, I think on one hand, like, yeah, like, I agree with you. Like, we should do a lot of love. But also, like Lee said, right, like, when we're not playing well, like, we also need to talk about it, right?
Yeah. I think the key is just don't DM people. Don't at people. Because for sure, like, soccer players, like part of our job is to be in this public spotlight, and you will be criticized sometimes, like if you're not doing well, but probably no need to like send that criticism directly to the person. Like, right here, there's no players on listening. So if you want to like vent your frustrations, it's probably a good safe space to do that. But like when you send something to a player, tell them like, Brian was saying Nuno, or go tell Nuno, like, dude, I can't wait to watch you play this weekend. Like, I'm pumped. Like, you're going to get one or something like that, I think there's good opportunities. When you send the ad, like,
he quit replying, so
you're like, there's Lee again in my DMs.
Yeah, unfollowed me and everything. I was like, what the hell? I was here for you, man.
Nice. Awesome. I love that perspective that you're giving.
I mean, as a whole, we love Charlotte. We love the players, man. You know, we definitely don't wish any ill will on them by any. Yeah, some people will
Yeah.
definitely take it too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good like right now, this moment, the players need support. Like imagine like it's tough in that locker. It's tough losing 3 games and you're worried. People are worried about all kinds of things going on, you know? So it's like, this is a great moment for the fans to pick them up. You know, maybe some other times are moments to like give them some tough love, but I think like right now, especially, is probably a moment of be there with the support, you know, because it's not easy to dig yourself out of a hole. So it helps a lot to have, you know, 60,000 people give you a helping hand out of that hole.
Right. Yeah. And maybe your thoughts too on like, you know, when a team is going through a rough patch, what does the locker room culture need to be like to kind of get out of that funk?
Man, it's really tough to say because nothing will really get you out of the funk except for a better result. Like you could try. So I think just bringing energy more than anything, probably. So like in practice, make sure the energy's high. You know, I think that really helps because it can get to the point where if you're losing games, people come to training sluggish and sad. They walk out, they leave. So keep the energy high in training and then energy high in games. So like, for example, this weekend, Vargas subbed on and he brought some energy and did some stuff. So, you know, stuff like that, I think helps the team. Even though it didn't turn into a win for you guys, I think that just shows like, all right, people are fighting, like lighting a fire under people. Like, let's go. Maybe we lost this game, but we'll get back to the next one. Hopefully they're in training, you know, with the same high intensity, high energy.
Yeah.
Tessa, do you think this is like a moment when like the veteran players really like it's like this is where the veterans really come into play just because they've obviously had more highs and more lows than like I'm thinking like Malanda, this might be the one of the bigger lows he's had in his professional career just because he's so young and he's been so highly hyped and touted most of his career so far. So like this might be one of his bigger lows that he's had so far. So is this like, are these like the moments when the veterans who have been on the highs and the lows and kind of been all over the place and figuring out how to get those like more even keel emotions, is that really what these moments come down to a lot of times, or no?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like each person needs to stay true to themselves. Like there's some veterans that are, you know, more the like kick you in the ass, like you need to do a better job and we'll chew you out. And then there's some people like myself, I lean towards more just like energy, positivity kind of thing. But you do need both within a locker room. And, you know, most teams do have like both sides of that. So I think it is a time for those veterans to like maybe lean a little bit more into who they are. Like if you're the guy who's chewing people out, like maybe this is the week to chew people out on the training field. And if you're the guy who, you know, lifts people up and just brings a ton of energy, like that's the reason to drink the extra Red Bull before training and really get after it. So I think it is a moment for for veterans, and if anything, just to lead by example, to be like, okay, you lost 3 games, well, what are you going to do? Like, you just have to work harder. Like, there's nothing else to do other than like work hard. You can't pout about it because you're just going to lose again if you pout about it. So someone said Westwood looks like the tough love. I feel like a lot of those the like UK type of guys, those are the tough love kind of guys over there for sure.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of grow up like that, right?
Yeah.
Like bad weather, right?
Yeah.
Easy now.
I forgot Lee's from England.
Got the Queen.
Nice. Awesome. And then we'll get into our kind of final, my favorite part of our show, and it's our score predictions for this weekend. Lee, don't look so excited.
Oh man, no positivity, man. I can't push it towards. If any of the players are watching, I was just yawning.
Nice. We'll start off with you, Brian, and I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well.
Yeah.
Give us your score prediction. And who's
I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I think just because both teams' offenses aren't clicking, and Jalese is just in like the form of his life right now. Like his performance against Tigres was just outrageously good. The 8 saves he made against them in Mexico was just crazy. And it was just a fantastic performance. So I think it's going to be hard for Charlotte to put up a bunch of goals and sort of break through. But I do think they can get one. I think they're going to come away with a draw. I think Orlando is going to be on a rotation. Again, they've been pretty much all season. And I think But I think also Charlotte's still leaking at the back right now. So I think 1-1.
Nice. Lee?
Yeah, I'm gonna say since it's a road game and our record on the road hasn't been good since day one of last year, I'm gonna say Orlando takes it 2-1.
Oh, okay. So an Orlando one. All right.
Keep pulling for Charlotte. So if I manifest like, hey, Orlando 2-1, maybe like whatever is going on in this weird energy we have around the team right now, it flips and Charlotte pulls off. We'll keep that on the wraps.
Nice. Tesha, my man, where do you think? Give us your score prediction.
I'm gonna go with 2-2. Both teams kind of break their scoring drought. I think both teams would kind of be happy with a 2-2. So I think that's a good way for me to stay neutral on both sides of this thing right here. So I hope for some goals, 2-2, and a good game.
Nice. And we're slowly converting you into a Charlotte FC fan as well, which is great, So you get to be part of our culture as well, right? I think I'm gonna you really gave me a good like positivity vibe. So I'm gonna change my score and say we're gonna win 1-0. Right.
The Mets talking, Jorge.
I'm gonna have to come on again to give Lee a bigger dose of positivity. I know he didn't get this first one, so I'm coming back. I'm giving Lee more positivity.
Yeah.
Next time he's going to vote for a win. Okay.
Fair. I would if we were playing at home, but since we're away, I just can't do that yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I think your dose of positivity worked because I was expecting a lot of people to like say we're gonna lose, and I don't see that many losses. A couple here and there, a lot of ties, a lot of wins, and so to kind of end this show, I just have a couple more questions for you, Tesha.
You never gave us your prediction.
I did. I said 1-0.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 1-0, and it's gonna be our DPS. It'll be Swiderski to Copetti again, like in St. Louis, right? To get these boys, especially our most important guys, right, to kind of pull a game for us, right? Like when Swiderski was at his best last year, we were at our best, so hopefully we get to see it again. Even like I have a feeling it's going to be a really bad game too, but if it's a bad game and we pull a 1-0, I'll take it right now, right? Based on the momentum and the negativity, like I think Tesha, you heard us. Even the TV went off in the stadium for like the whole second half. Yeah. There's like a bad like little juice. Or
gotta flip the juju, get some good vibes in there.
Right. What would you say would be your most memorable game playing?
My most memorable game. There was this one game we played when I was in Dallas. We played against Seattle in the playoffs. I didn't sub in until like the 88th minute or something like that. And so that's when they did home and away legs. And my first touch of the ball, I scored. And then so we went up on aggregate. So this is like the 88th minute. I was like, dang, we're going to win. Like my first touch of the game, I scored. Then they scored like 90th minute. Then we scored again. And then it went to overtime and it went to PK shootout. Like I took a PK, scored a PK. We ended up winning that game. So that game was insane. Like, so that one's up there for me.
Nice. That's like a France versus Argentina World Cup final kind of match, huh?
Yeah. Not quite at that level, but it was like for me, it felt like it because it was insane, like back and forth, like within a few minutes, playoffs, like the stadium was packed. So, and I was maybe my second year in the league or something like that. So I was still really young and just loving it, really living it up.
Nice. Do you miss it now that you're retired?
I honestly, I think it was the right time for me to move on, like right now I'm working in the world of like real estate development and I'm really passionate about that. So I think I had a good career, and everything comes to an end. And I think for me, it came to an end at a good time. Like we won the Open Cup last year. Now I'm here in Charlotte, which is an amazing city. And I feel like I settled in really nicely. So yeah, I wouldn't say like I'm like itching to get back at it. You know what? Like even when I was watching all my friends posting their preseason videos this year, I was like, thank goodness that I'm not out here on the beach like running sprints right now. Like, no, thank you. So that's why I made
out a burger in your hand. Right?
Yeah, I made the right decision. Literally today, right before this call, I went for a run, and it was the first time I ran for like months, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of shape. But
a round is a shape.
Yeah, round is a shape. I'll take that.
Or like I like to say,
positivity right there.
My favorite machine at the gym is the vending machine. So.
Yeah, just in for the vending machine and straight out.
Nice. Awesome. And then my last question, which you kind of touched on, is on the playoff format. What are your thoughts on 9 teams entering playoffs and this 3-game series? I'm going to harp on this because, in my opinion, MLS is growing and we're getting respect. We're just getting more respect from outsiders looking in. And when you do things like a 3-game series, best out of 2, I feel like that doesn't help it. But I just wanted your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was trying to find, because I had just tweeted about my thoughts on it, whenever it came out. But I kind of like it for the most part. I don't like the 3-game series. I think it's a bit too long. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. I do like I forget which round it is, but it goes immediately from normal time to PKs. I think that's good. I honestly don't like overtime most of the time. Some games you get like the World Cup final when it's amazing and there's goals, but usually I think overtime is really boring. And as a player, it's miserable. Like everyone's cramping and everyone's kind of like wink, wink. Let's just kind of call it a tie. So I don't like overtime. I said that I think games should go straight from, I'm going to take it even further in the opposite direction of what you said, because you were like, oh, we need to stick to the script. No, we need to go way off the script. I want to go straight from normal time into an old school 35-yard shootout, dribble up shootout. That's how games should end. PK shootouts, honestly, I don't know. I think PK shootouts could even be improved on. I think that the dribble up shootout, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I see Lee. He hates the idea. You can see it in his eye. He hates it. He's through and through. It's all right, Lee. I'll convert you one time.
It is. It's the English in me, man. I can't deal with that. No. Nope.
But let me give you something though.
Okay.
MLS wants to be one of the top leagues in the world, right? How are they going to compete with the EPL, La Liga? They cannot compete on money, so they have to compete on creativity. And they have to do something different. Like you're not going to.
But it seems like you're just Americanizing it, just to Americanize.
But we're American. Like we should embrace being American. I don't think we should try to be more European.
We are in America, but a lot of the fans are not American.
Yeah, but that's not what the EPL teams are saying. This is an American league, and I think we should embrace it's different, and embrace that. We are not going to be more European. We will never out European the European.
No, of course not. But if anything, we should start raising the salary cap and all that.
We'll never beat them that way, though. The salary cap is not going to get to buying players for $200 million. It's not going to get there, at least not in the foreseeable future. If they really want to be competing with them within the next 5 years, the only possible way is to do something creative. And maybe this is not the creative thing, but I think that a lot of people push back when MLS tries to do something outside of the box. And I think it's wrong. I think that you should just embrace being different, being American. That's what's cool about soccer in the world is people come from all over the place and add their flavor to it. Why not the leagues as well?
I think that's what Next Pro does too now, though. So they MLS has almost found a way to kind of innovate new rules by putting it in Next Pro, and then they can prove that there's some data behind it and it looks good. What they're doing a new rule now where you get to pick who you play in the playoffs at Next Pro. If that's the new rule and they're doing this year. So if you have a high seed, you get to pick your opponent for the first 2 rounds. And so they're doing things like that at Next Pro.
Some of the ideas are going to be bad. I don't know. I don't know about that one. That might be bad, but who knows?
What's wrong with that one, Tesha?
I don't know. I might be wrong though. I think it is cool to try it, like you said, in MLS Next Pro. Because I think that really is the way that this becomes a top league is you got to compete on something else. You cannot compete with those teams on the history, the tradition, being pure soccer. They'll always look down on the US always for whatever reason, because we're literally 50 years behind or whatever, 100 years behind. We can't catch up. So the only thing you can do is do something different.
Interesting. I love that. Do you have someone wants to know, do you have a team outside of MLS that you pull for?
Man, my whole life since 1999, I was an Arsenal supporter, and then look how mad he is. Yeah. Because, let me tell you why. Because
all his positivity.
Thierry Henry, Thierry Henry is that guy.
I know.
Thierry Henry is that guy. So Are you a Spurs fan? Or
I
what?
am.
Oh,
I am.
it's sick. Get Lee
Yeah.
off the call. Get Lee.
No,
out of
that's
here.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We should vet our guests
Yeah.
better, Jorge. We need to vet these guys better, man. I want to see a
Get
full
Lee
resume
out
before
of
I
here.
agree to be on here.
So
That's
let
true.
me,
Me and you are gonna get a beer
I
and
didn't
we're gonna
finish my
argue
story. I
forever.
didn't finish my story yet, though. So I was an Arsenal fan my whole life, and then last year I was just like, I've had enough. I'm a soccer fan now. Like, no, I'm not supporting any teams. And then look at what happened. Like, top of the table. So I gave up. Right? It's like that meme when you're like digging and you're about to hit the diamonds and you turn around. Like that was me and my support of Arsenal. So.
So did you get back on the bandwagon, or did you?
I didn't. I think it's better to just be a fan of the game, you know. And honestly, like I'm more of a fan of MLS than I am of like I watch way more MLS games than I do EPL games and stuff like that. So, and I think I'm gonna keep doing that. So
Nice. I love that. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. Brian, where can we find you at?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter at Bam Mauer Media. You can also find all my written content at topbin90.com. And me and Blake from MLS Gone Wild's new show, Dropping Points. You got to find us at Droppin'. You got to drop the G. So Dropping Points is our MLS fantasy show. So you can find all of our banter and discussion. A lot of it, unfortunately, Tesho is a little bit negative just because we picked the wrong players at the wrong time, but that's all part of the game. MLS's parody means we make wrong choices constantly. In MLS.
You guys are like the weathermen now, right? Where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like, yeah, you don't really know the weather.
yeah. That's what we're the MLS weathermen. I might steal that.
Nice. Lima, man, where can we find you at?
Not watching an Arsenal game unless they're playing Spurs. Otherwise, you can find me at COTFC Fan TV on all the channels.
Nice. And Tesho, this is an interesting question. One of the supporters groups is in here, man, and they do Thursday nights. They need a striker, man. Can they count on you at some point?
maybe not this week, but you know, maybe once I get a little bit more into shape being round, I'll pop out at some games or something like that. But I think I need to give it a little cooling off period before I just jump into some games like that.
Nice. And then where can we find you? Is there any place you want to plug in or?
Yeah, just find me on Twitter, Tesho13 on Twitter. So there's not that many Teshos, so if you search Tesho, you'll find me.
Nice. Well, perfect. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate having you on. It's an honor having a guest of your caliber on here as well. And so we appreciate it. Hopefully when we invite you back, you come on and I'll make sure Lee's on so you can give him some more crap.
Yeah,
But you
spread
don't have to
love,
give
spread positivity. It's all right. I'll get you, Lee. Don't worry.
Yeah. He never talks up to me like that. So congratulations, Tesho.
All right. With that, we end the show. Thank you guys for